You're listening to Sister Stargazers, celestial and terrestrial observations and advice from two real-life sisters.
Welcome, fellow stargazers. Your sisters are in the house. Hi, Jude.
Hi, Sarah. Nice to see you.
Thanks. Yeah, we're cruising into July here. Episode 95. We're going to look around July 2nd to Saturday, July 8th. You said there's some really fascinating aspects. Maybe a keyword for the week is introspection. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, there's a full moon this week in Capricorn.
Right.
Moon in Capricorn opposite the sun in Cancer. The moon is not at its best when it's in Capricorn. It's very cold and dry. You know, the moon likes to be moist and wet. So it's kind of out of its element, and it tries to analyze the feeling nature. That aspect alone will kind of send you into your inner world.
Yeah.
Mars is still it's in a waning square now to Uranus, but it's also making a quincunx to Neptune. So this might also drive your desire to escape. And that can bring you in or away from the everyday life. And then Mercury is probing. Mercury is sextile Uranus. So Mercury sextile Uranus is intensity of mind. It's an expression of radical or unusual points of view, inventiveness. So these are all kind of conspiring to kind of bring us in a little bit with this full buck moon at 11 degrees, 18 minutes of Capricorn.
Wow.
Plus, what's really interesting is the Sabian symbol.
Okay.
Is 12 degrees Capricorn. It's an illustrated lecture on natural science, reveals little known aspects of life.
Okay.
So I can just read the keyword here from Dane Rudyard. The ability to explore unfamiliar realms and discover the laws underlying the complex processes of nature. So other than that, it's a quiet week.
When you said Mercury is probing, do you mean just like in its placement, it's going to ask you to kind of probe, or is probing an astrological term?
No, well, Mercury is going to be still within orbs. That's within 5 degrees orb of the sun. So it's kind of coming out of that conjunction that happened last week with Mercury conjunct the sun. So it's still kind of under the beams of the sun. And so it's making a sextile from that 14 degrees Cancer placement up to Uranus at 21 degrees of Taurus. And it's applying. So it's in wide orb right now. It's going to be moving closer as the week goes on. So Mercury in aspect to Taurus, in that sextile to Taurus, is going to start dropping little insights.
Okay.
And it's going to make you feel more experimental in how you communicate, or being interested more in unusual topics, or pushing your worldview out a little bit from the norm.
Okay. All right.
Which also kind of ties in with the Sabian symbol.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this week I thought I would just try a different deck, work with a different deck. And I like the medicine cards. This is an animal card deck by Jamie Sands and David Carson, with illustrations by Angela Wernicke. And the wild boar came up, and this is card 48. And this is an expanded edition where there's a few more animals that are added in. And the keyword for the wild boar is confrontation. And at first I was like, well, how is this going to apply? But it's actually the wild boar is asking you to sort of go within to confront whatever may be standing in your way so that you can bring your best self to the situation. And it uses the word warrior, where it's asking you that you can confront anything or anybody that you have been avoiding. Pay attention, embrace your warrior nature, and find the courage to confront your fears or confront personal weaknesses. It could even be something within a career challenge. It's time to finish a project you might have abandoned, thinking that at first maybe it was too difficult. Basically, confronting your feelings regarding some situation that makes you nervous or causes discomfort, and bring yourself the peace of closure, but you have to kind of go within, kind of be true with yourself, figure it out. It says, unless you actively embrace your issues, you cannot reclaim your spirit's energy. Half the battle is won through the warrior's willingness to acknowledge and to accept the whole truth at all times. So I feel like there was a Mars aspect that might illuminate that a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, the Mercury sextile Uranus, I mean, that kind of insightful.
Okay.
Also, the Venus square Uranus and Mars square Uranus, right? That kind of energized excitement. The thing I'm looking at in the chart, which is really interesting, is that there's this stellium in Leo, which might speak to this boar, the wild boar, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Leo is very demonstrative and wants to be like shine and wants to be out there and can be somewhat arrogant and kind of bloviated at times, can go on and on and on. But what's happening in Leo is Black Moon Lilith is there.
Okay.
Which is the cast out feminine, right? Aspects of the feminine that have been cast out. Lilith was way too outspoken for Adam, so she was cast out of the garden. There's Venus at 22 Leo, 3 degrees away from Mars at 25 Leo. So Mars and Venus are making a square up to Uranus.
Okay.
And Pallas at 26 Leo. Pallas Athene she's the warrior goddess.
Oh,
but
great.
She also makes plans. She's a strategist.
Yep.
So these 4 planets and asteroids right in Leo, in this kind of slice between 19 and 26, they're all making squares up to Uranus. So this is going to be tremendous insights in terms of how you might be creating dramas in your life.
Okay.
Where there really shouldn't be any dramas, like how you might, with the moon being so cut and dry in Capricorn, how might you now look at some of the dramas that are created or that have been created or that you participate in?
There you go. Yep.
And be a little more conscious about them.
Yeah.
So that might be how that is applicable.
Well, and why we create certain dramas and make it about the other person or make it about another group or make it about, like, what is it really saying about your own nature, your own fears, your own, like, what are you unwilling to deal with when you always put the drama on somebody else? I don't know, taking a little bit of personal responsibility, which takes a bit of the courage, which the wild boar is talking about. I don't know if you've ever seen a wild boar, but boy, they can be really aggressive. They're very aggressive creatures. But they're also very maternal, which is interesting. They keep their little piglets close by.
Oh, that is interesting.
Side note about the boar.
That is so wild. Well, this is a maternal full moon.
Interesting.
Well, the moon's in Capricorn, which is the father. The sun's in Cancer, which is the mom.
Wow.
But then, you've got Mars and Venus and Black Moon Lilith and Pallas all square up to Uranus in Taurus.
Okay.
Which can be values,
Yeah.
Is there something that, you're are you reevaluating your values? And then where does that take you? How does that make you feel? And how does that make you feel within your family structure? Are you at odds with what the part of you that might be bringing in values from your family, but now there's a different way to proceed, that doesn't really look at those values anymore, or they don't work as well.
Okay.
So there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions with this full moon, and that's partly where the introspection, I think, is coming from.
Yeah. And that full moon, I think we said, is happening on the 3rd of July.
Yeah, it's on the 3rd, and it's happening at 7:39 a.m. Eastern time on July 3rd.
So that sounds like a powerful start to the week. And then anything near the end that maybe takes the edge off, or?
Well, there's the Independence Day is traditionally a summer holiday with family.
Yeah.
So this full moon might really be, there might be situations that this full moon really plays into in terms of this. So I guess what I'm saying is by the end of the week, Friday the 7th, we talked about the 6th, Mars quincunx Neptune.
Okay.
There's a real desire to escape. You don't want to push anything. If you've taken an extended holiday, you might just have to step back. Maybe there's just been enough of family, enough of friends, enough of partying. Friday the 7th, Mercury sextiles Uranus. So that again gives you that potential for insight and inquisitiveness. And also being able to understand or approach unusual points of view. So your mind you might be feeling more expansion, or, if you've had conversations with folks that you might not normally talk with this as part of this week's activities, that you might be starting to integrate some of the unusual points of view that you might have heard into maybe your value system. Yeah. On Saturday, the moon is going to conjunct Neptune. So this is going to really, there's two pieces to this. The moon conjuncts Neptune in Pisces, which is traditionally a dreamy, very insightful aspect. But then the moon sextiles Pluto. So, it's dreamy and insightful, also truthful and deep.
There you go.
So be aware of an active imagination that may lead to oversensitivity, because the moon in Pisces conjunct Neptune can be very sensitive. And then sextile Pluto, you might just hear something that completely just makes you go, probes down deep into the questioning of your rationale. So, that's just a cautionary note.
Okay. Is there like a tip to stay grounded or something?
Yeah, I think if you're your own counsel this week, you would be doing really well.
Okay.
There are so many ways, especially with that stellium in Leo, making square up to Uranus, that you can be just revved up. Activated, revved up. There's also some trines from Eris, which is in Aries, back to this stellium. Okay. Eris is just a troublemaker, but she she pushes the buttons. She's like, well, what about this? Yeah. How about that? If you think this way, well, then you must have, to accommodate this. So there's a quickness about Eris in Aries, which always kind of pushes the boundaries a little bit. Okay. So there is that potential. And there's also, with Chiron involved at 19 degrees Aries, making a trine back to the Leo stellium, there's also the potential for really kind of a healing that can come out of whatever dramas, discourse, excitability that you are involved in or that come up for you.
Yeah, I love that when you say be your own counsel. Well, excellent. Listeners, if you have questions, comments, we'd love to know how these interpretations are working for you. You can send us an email at connect@SisterStargazers.com. Monday nights, 7 p.m., tune into WMPG.org for a weekly deep dive. And check out our website, SisterStargazers.com. Jude, want to sign off with anything?
I guess just enjoy the time. Like it's, don't take anything too seriously, but just be aware of the squares to Uranus, that there might be, things that you might hear or that you might feel or that you might be questioning, or you might be being asked to see things in a new way, and just take time to integrate that.
There you go. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Sister Stargazers. Let us know what worked for you this week. Find us on Facebook and post a comment at Sister Stargazers.